King Howardung had two sons. One was called Agnar and the other Geirrod. Agnar was 10 years old and Geirrod 8. They both rowed out in a boat with rods and trailing lines to catch a small fish. The wind drove them out into the ocean, and in the dark of that night they made landfall and went ashore, and they found a crofter. They stayed there for the winter. The old woman fostered Agnar, and the old man Geirrod. In the spring, the old man got them a ship, and when he and the old woman took them down to the shore, then the old man spoke privately to Geirrod. They got a breeze, and came to their father's harbour. Geirrod was forward in the ship. He jumped ashore and pushed the ship out and said, "Go where the evil one may take you." The ship was driven out, and Geirrod went up to the house. He was greeted joyfully, though his father had died. And then Geirrod was taken as king and became a splendid man. Odin and Frigg sat in Hildescaf and looked into all the worlds. Odin said, "Do you see Agnar, your foster son, there raising children with a giantess in a cave? But Geirrod, my foster son, is king and rules over all the land." Frigg says, "He is so stingy with food that he tortures his guests if it seems to him that too many have come." Odin says that is the greatest lie. They wagered on the matter. Frigg sent a handmaiden, Fulla, to Geirrod. She told the king to beware lest a wizard who had come into the country should bewitch him, and said he could be known by this sign, that no dog was so fierce that it would leap upon him. And that was the greatest slander, that Geirrod was not generous with his food. However, he had that man arrested whom no dog would attack. He was wearing a blue cloak and called himself Grimnir, and would say nothing more about himself though he was asked. The king had him tortured to make him speak and set him between two fires, and he sat there for 8 nights. Geirrod, the king, had a son who was 10 years old, and he was called Agnar, after Geirrod's brother. Agnar went to Grimnir and gave him a full horn to drink from, saying that the king was acting wrongfully to have him, an innocent man, tortured. Grimnir drank it up. Then the fire had come so close that Grimnir's cloak burned. He said, "Hot you are, hurrying fire, and rather too fierce. Go away from me, flame. My fur cloak singes, though I lift it up. My mantle burns before me. 8 nights I have sat here between the fires, yet no one offered me food, except Agnar alone, and he alone shall rule, the son of Geirrod, the land of the Goths. Blessed shall you be, Agnar, since Odin bids you blessed. For one drink you shall never get a better reward. The land is sacred which I see lying near the Aesir and the elves, but in Thrundheim 4 shall remain until the powers are torn asunder. Udale it is called, the place where Ull has made a hall for himself. Alfheim the gods gave to Freya in bygone days as tooth payment. There is a third home where the cheerful powers roofed the rooms with silver. Valaskalf it is called, which the god designed for himself in bygone days. Sokkvabekka a fourth is called, and cool waves resound over it. There Odin and Saga drink every day, joyful from golden cups. Gladsheim a fifth is called. There gold-bright Valhall extends out widely. There Odin chooses every day those dead in combat. It's very easy to recognise for those who come to Odin to see how his hall's arranged. Spear shafts the buildings have for rafters. It's roofed with shields, mail coats are strewn on the benches. It's very easy to recognise for those who come to Odin to see how his hall's arranged. A wolf hangs west of the door, and an eagle hovers above. Freimundheim is the 6th called, where Thiazi lived, the all-powerful giant. But now Skadi, the shining bride of the gods, lives in her father's ancient courts. Breidablik is the seventh, where Balder has made a hall for himself, in that land where I know there are fewest runes of ill omen. Himinbjorg is the eighth, and there they say Heimdall rules over his sanctuaries. There the god's glad watchman drinks good mead in the peaceful hall. Folkvangir is the ninth, and there Freya fixes allocation of seats in the hall. Half the slain she chooses every day, and half Odin owns. Grimnir is the 10th. It has golden buttresses, and likewise is roofed with silver. And there Forsetsi lives most days, and puts to sleep all quarrels. Neatun is the 11th, when Njord has made a hall for himself. The prince of men, lacking in malice, rules a high-timbered temple. Brushwood grows, and high grass and woods in Vidar's land, and there the sun proclaims from his horse's back his keenness to avenge his father. Andromir and Saemnir boiled in Eldromir, their best of pork, but few know on what the Einhar are nourished. Jerry and Freki he satiates, the glorious father of hosts, trained in battle, but on wine alone the weapon magnificent Odin always lives. Hugin and Munin fly every day over the vast stretching world. I fear for Hugin that he will not come back, yet I tremble more for Munin. Fund roars, the great wolf's fish swims happily in the stream. The river's current seems too strong for the slaughter horse to wade. Valgrind it's called, standing on the plain, sacred before the sacred door. Ancient is that gate, but few men know how it is closed up with a lock. 500 doors and 40 I think there are in Valhall. 800 Einranar will pass through that single door when they march out to fight the wolf. 500 daises and 40, so I think Brixinia has in all. Of all those halls which I know to be roofed, my son I know is the greatest. Heidrun is the goat's name, who stands on Father of Hosts' hall and browses on Laerdrid's branches. She will fill a vat of shining mead, that liquor cannot ever diminish. Eichfeimir is the hart's name, who stands on Father of Hosts' hall and browses on Laerdrid's branches, and from his antlers there's dripping into Halvagrimir, from thence all waters make their way. Sid and Vid, Sakin and Aikin, Sval and Gunfro, Fjorm and Fimbulful, Rin and Rinandi, Gipul and Gupul, Gomul and Gervumul. They flow round the god's treasure hoard, Finn and Vin, Fol and Hull, Grad and Gunforin. Vina is one's name, another Vegsfin, a third Fjordnuma, Nit and Not, Non and Fron. Slid and Frid, Silga and Yilga, Vid and Van and Vond and Strond, Gjol and Lept. They fall close to men and flow down from here to hell. Kormt and Ormt and the two Kerch Lauga, these four must wade every day when he goes to give judgment at Yggdrasil's ash, for the Aesir's bridge burns all with flames and the sacred waters boil. Glad and golden, glassy and Skedbrimnir, Silvertuft and Sinjar, Gills and Hildenhoof, Goldtuft and Lightfoot. These horses the Aesir ride every day when they go to give judgment at Yggdrasil's ash. 3 roots there grow in 3 directions under Yggdrasil's ash. Hel lives under one, under the second the frost giants, under the third humankind. Ratatosk is the squirrel's name, who must scurry about on Yggdrasil's ash. The eagle's utterance he must bring from above to tell to Nighog below. There are 4 hearts too who browse on its shoots, with their necks tilted back, Dane and Dvalin, Dunya and Durafor. More serpents lie under Yggdrasil's ash than any numbskull fool can imagine. Going and mowing, they are Grafitnir's sons, Grabak and Grafolud. Ofnir and Svafnir, I think forever will erode the tree's branches. Yggdrasil's ash suffers agony more than men know. A stag nibbles it above, but at its side it's decaying, and Nighog rends it beneath. Frist and mist, I wish would bear a horn to me. Skegiold and Skogul, Hyold and Frud, Frock and Herfiotor, Gull and Geridol, Rangrid, Radgrid, and Rhinelife, they bear ale to the Einherjar. Arvak and Alsfid, the slender ones, must pull the sun up from here, and under their shoulders the cheerful gods, the Aesir, have installed calling iron. Svalin he's called, he stands before the sun, a shield for the shining goddess. Mountain and sea I know would burn up if he fell away from there. Skull, a wolf is called who pursues the shining goddess to the protecting woods, and another is Hati. He is Frodvitnir's son, who must run before heaven's bright bride. From Ymir's flesh the earth was made, and from his blood the sea, mountains from his bones, trees from his hair, and from his skull the sky. And from his eyelashes the cheerful gods made Midgard for men's sons, and from his brain the hard-tempered clouds were all created. Ul's protection, and that of all the gods he has, the first one to seize the flames. For the worlds lie open over the sons of the gods where the kettles are lifted off. Ivaldi's sons in bygone days went to create Skidbladnir, the best of ships for shining Freyr, Njord's beneficent son. Yggdrasil's ash is the most preeminent of trees, as is Skidbladnir's of ships. Odin of the Aesir, Slipnir of horses, Bifrost of bridges, Bragi of poets, Habrok of hawks, and Garm of dogs. Fleeting visions I have now revealed before the victory god's sons. Now the wished-for protection will awaken. To all the Aesir it will become known, on age's benches at age's feast. I was called Mask, I was called Wanderer, General and Helm-wearer, known and furred, fund and urd, hell-blind and high. Steady and Svipal, and Sangetal, War-merry and Nikar, Reek-eyed, flame-eyed, Bolverk, Fionnia, Mask and Masked one, Glapsvid and much wise, Broad hat, broad beard, Victory Father, Nikud, All Father, Father of the slain, Etrid and Burden God. By one name I have never been known since I went amongst the people. Grimnir, they call me at Geriods, and Eolk at Osmund's, and then Kiala when I pulled the sledge, Frior at the assembly, Vidir in battle, Oski and Oni, equal high and Biflindi, Gondlier and Harbard amongst the gods. Svidr and Svidrier I was called at Sokmimir's, and I tricked the old giant then, when I became Midvidnir's famous son, the Soul Slayer. Drunk are you, Geriod, you've drunk too much, you are bereft of much, of my support, that of all the Einherjar and Odin's favour. Much I told you, but little you remember. Friends, have you played false? I see my friend's sword lying all splattered with his blood. The terrible one will now take that weapon-weary slaughtered man. I know your life is over. The Disir are against you, and now you may see Odin. Draw near to me if you can. Odin, I am called now. Terrible one, I was called before. They called me Frund before that, Vak and Skilfing and Vafud and Froptir, Gut and Eok amongst the gods, Ofnir and Fafnir, all these I think stem from me alone. Geirrod, the king, sat with a sword upon his lap, half drawn from the sheath. But when he heard that it was Odin who had come there, he stood up and intended to pull Odin away from the fire. The sword slipped from his hand, hilt downwards. The king lost his footing and plunged forwards, and the sword pierced him through, and he was killed. Odin disappeared, and Agnar was then king for a long time afterwards.